Good to go. All right. So as I mentioned, this is part two of a two-part webinar series for our school library staff, whether you're brand new and you're in an onboarding stage, or whether this is a refresher for you because you've been with your school library for a number of years and you're familiar with the services and supports that we do offer. Certainly, there are things that are updated from year to year, things that change. So this is always a helpful series to attend and to watch when you have time, because there might be some changes from one year to the next, and it's good to keep abreast of what those changes are. So why can't I move my screen? Oh, there we go. Hee hee. So today we're mostly going to be talking about what we refer to here as the life cycle of a book and how that connects to library collections. So it's a case of what do you buy? How do I buy it? What happens to it after I've purchased it, etc. So it's kind of those basic fundamentals of that whole process regarding library materials for your collection. So it's what we refer to as collection development support, and that's what we do. We try to support you in any way that that you might require. So some of the things that we're going to be talking about again more specifically is what to buy. How do you know what to buy? There is a lot that comes out every year. So we're going to be talking a little bit about some book lists that we use and recommend to just check out reviews, what's kind of hot and what other libraries and publishers and so on and influencers are talking about, and different reputable resources that provide some of that detailed information. Where do you buy this stuff? We have a number of different options. One is CCD, which is a website that we had created so that it's a one-stop shop. We have lists there, you can go and shop, and it connects to us. And once you're finished filling your cart, we take it from there. We also have vendors that are library specific vendors that we have great relationships with. We're going to go into a little bit of that, and why they are by far the preferred method of purchasing any of your materials for your library collection. And then how do you buy these items for your collection? So we're going to talk a little bit about funds, a little bit more specifically about ordering, and then something called standing orders, which is something that some of you might be super familiar with, and others this might be completely new content. And I think it would be of great value for you to learn a little bit about standing orders. And then once you've found the stuff, you've bought the stuff, then what happens? And so we're going to go into a little bit about what we do with that material once it's been purchased through us, as well as items that are purchased actually outside of YRL. So maybe you've purchased it elsewhere, and how we can support you with that material as well. So cataloging, processing, how we get that material to you as well. So we're just going to move on to the next slide, which is that what to buy area of the whole process. So it can be incredibly overwhelming as to what to know what to buy, because certainly the publishing industry has taken some hits over the years, over the decades, but right now it is thriving. There is a tremendous amount of material that is coming out at lightning speed every day. So it can be a little overwhelming to try and keep up with everything that's coming out. And especially over the last decade or so, series have been so incredibly popular, particularly with children. And knowing and keeping up to date on what the next volume of any of the million different series that are available, when it's coming out, what its title is, am I going to get it in time? Because I know that my kiddos are probably going to be, chomping at the bit to get the next volume of whatever it is, Captain Underpants or some graphic novel. So these are some of the online resources that we use ourselves regularly to curate lists that we upload onto our CCD website, which we'll look at a little bit more later, but also ones that you can just check out periodically for reviews. Often they will have themed book lists that there might be an area, let's say in your nonfiction section, that you're trying to fill some gaps. You know that there's a unit coming up with one of your teachers on staff. And so, you might be able to find a list on any of these sites that specifically pertains to that subject area, for example, or maybe it's just for pleasure reading and, your students are really interested in, again, a particular series, an author, a certain genre, etc. So any of these are going to be of great benefit to you because one, they're super reputable. They're really well vetted. So you can rely upon any of the information that is coming from any of these sites for recommendations for materials that would easily be part of your collection. So some of the ones that are kind of my favorites that I've chosen to share here is the Canadian School Libraries website, which is it's a mishmash of a tremendous amount of information, but they do have really fantastic book lists. They also contain reviews, and they also help to provide some tips and tricks in how to navigate through what sometimes feels like a vast ocean of material that's available. So because it also specifically pertains to Canadian school libraries, I think the information that they provide here is super valuable for any of our school libraries to browse. And again, there's other subject matter that they have on their site as well, aside from, how to recommend and pick titles for your collection. 49th Kids is kind of an additional site that was created after the original site was created, which was all adult content. And they had a little bit of children's content, but what they did is they had such a huge demand for kids content that they created their own site. 49th Kids is fantastic because not only is it comprehensive and really up to date, but it's 100% Canadian. So all of the material that is included on this site is all Canadian content. So Canadian illustrators, Canadian authors, etc. So they'll have book reviews, again, book lists, you name it. And it's going to range for kids anywhere from, 0 to 18. And then the other 49th Shelf, which is the adult version of the 49th series, is probably, I would say, like 18, 19 and beyond. Imagination Soup, Read Brightly, and Reading Rockets at the bottom there are all similar in the sense that they tend to curate themed lists and some reviews, not a tremendous amount of reviews. It's primarily themed book list recommendations, and it's going to be broken down into, with Read Brightly in particular, into different demographics or age groups. So if you're looking for some material for the teens in your school, they will have a huge selection of different lists within their YA book list recommendations. So they're all a little bit different in their own ways, but all worthy of a browse if you're trying to find any of those groupings of either themed book lists or just particular content that you're looking for, and then filter down by age group. The next one is School Library Journal. I'm sure you're all probably familiar with this. It is an American organization that's based on the Library Journal, which is a periodical, but they also have a tremendous amount of resources and an online presence. And of course, they have the School Library Journal portion of the products that they have available. So because they are school library centric, there is going to be a lot of really valuable information there within their online pages as well. And again, you're going to find reviews and book lists, and again, tips and tricks on how to find the best content for your library. Book Trust is another one that's of great value. It is a slightly higher level version of what a lot of these other sites are, where they might be created by, educators or influencers, or maybe a parent that is also a teacher, etc. Book Trust is definitely a reputable site. It's definitely worth browsing. You're probably going to find slightly different content there, but it is highly respected and definitely worth a browse. And lastly is Kirkus. I love Kirkus. Again, it's an American site. but it is highly, highly respected. It is, I would say, by far the vast majority of the material that is a focus on Kirkus is adult content, but their children's content and adolescent content is definitely growing at a really rapid rate. So their database is becoming quite robust, but what Kirkus is really known for are their reviews. They are if you've gotten your book reviewed by Kirkus, that's a big deal. So they are highly, highly reputable and respected for that purpose. And they are very honest. They will actually indicate in their review whether it is a book that they do or do not recommend. So, good or bad, there will be a review there. And you can also do a really interesting search on their site, which I think is super unique, and I would love to see it on more of these websites about books. But they have a search engine that helps you filter down based on diversity. So if you're trying to find books for, your students that are on LGBTQ subject matter, maybe you want a character in the story that is from that community. And you also maybe, there's maybe other kind of societal issues or different, maybe with religion or race or something along those lines within DEI that you want to find something pretty specific or relatively general for one of your students. Kirkus has this great diversity find tool that, granted, it just pertains to books that are within their database, but I've found it to be really, really valuable, and it's definitely worth checking out. So check out Kirkus for sure. So that's where you can go to kind of check out what to consider to purchase for your collection. And of course, if you were even to just find your favorite search engine and just do a Google search, newest, highly rated books for YA or something along those lines. And you're probably going to find your own little list of your best book list and review online resources. So just bookmark them, make them super handy to check out when you have time, because I know you're all strapped for time. And check them out when you can, and just try and stay to the best of your ability on top of what's coming out. So the next stage of this process, of course, is now I know what to buy. Now, where do I buy it? So there's a number of different options that you can take advantage of. One is CCD, and I'm actually going to pop into this site very briefly in a moment towards the end of the presentation. But CCD is the first place that we recommend that you go. And the reason being is because, again, it's that one-stop shop. It's super convenient. It's a really clean and easy-to-use interface. And the nice thing about it is there is one or two of our other regions within the province that we curate all the lists. So they're actually built in our vendor sites, and then they're uploaded into CCD for you to shop. So they're themed. There are some lists there that are promotional. So just to give you an example, United Library Services has different lists that come out every 2 months, for example. So they're all brand new titles. And there's ones there for kids as well as teens. And so basically you could go into any of those given selection lists and drop things into your cart, just like you would on Amazon or Indigo. And once you've completed that cart, you submit it. It's submitted directly to us, and then we take it from there, which means that we're also able to utilize that connection because you have an allotment, for example. You might also have an additional allotment account, or we're going to talk about the funds a little bit more in a minute, but it's that connectivity that's really, really helpful and makes the process really streamlined, and you're not having to dart around to a bunch of different places to create those orders. So it's just kind of like a log in, place your order, done. We add new lists on a really regular basis, so they're always switching up. There's a wide variety of themes. Some of them are nominees and award winners for different awards. There's themed lists. There's curriculum-based lists. You name it. There's a little bit of everything there. So we'll take a little peek into CCD, but I highly recommend if you don't have a CCD login, please contact us. You can always contact us anytime at askyrl@yrl.ab.ca. Again, that's askyRL@yrl.ab.ca. And the reason why we have this one generic email is because if for whatever reason I wasn't there for the day, there's going to be a bunch of people that monitor that one email, and so you'll get a really prompt response if it's urgent. If it's not, then it'll be assigned to me, and I'll get back to you when I return. But that's always a great place to reach out to us at any time. So, and again, we're going to talk more about that in a little bit. But your next option would be beyond CCD. Are our vendor sites. So these are library specific vendors that we have agreements and relationships with that provide the materials that our libraries purchase through us at significant discounts. And there's other benefits to that as well. Our biggest one is ULS, or United Library Services. By far, they provide the vast majority of the materials that any of our libraries purchase through us. Mostly books and some audiobooks. CVS Midwest Tape is our primary vendor for audiovisual material. So music CDs, audiobooks, theirs are a little bit different, the audiobooks, in that they come in a hard plastic case so that it can really take the abuse of highly circulated items instead of the little cardboard boxes that they usually come in, like from ULS, for example. So you might get them for slightly less money at ULS because, of course, they're in the original packaging, but you at CVS Midwest Tape, a little bit more expensive, but then you get them in a really robust case. And Library Bound is our primary vendor for video games. So if you had a video game collection, or you even just wanted to buy one and you weren't sure where to buy it, you can purchase those through us as well. So there's a variety of different options that you can use to purchase materials through us. And again, that big benefit is one, you get really, really good discounts because we're a consortia, and that is powerful. So it really lends to being able to stretch your budget much, much further. They're also reliable and vetted in that you know that if you order from any of or through us from any of these vendors, you are getting legitimate, genuine material. It's not AI generated. It's not counterfeit or illegally dubbed, etc. It happens sometimes on a site like Amazon, for example, where it's, you're buying sight unseen, and there's no way that they can monitor every single marketplace seller that they have. So you might get a good price, but it's at a greater risk. So there are really, really big advantages to purchasing through us and using these vendors. So next, we're going to talk about how do you buy any of this material. So I mentioned allotment before. So every single school library is going to receive some money each calendar year, usually at the beginning of the calendar year. And it is used strictly to buy books and other materials for your library collection. So you can't use it for computers or, a new sofa or anything along those lines. But it's going to vary pretty dramatically. If you're a really tiny school and you have a very small number of students within your school, well, then your allotment will be lower. If you have a really large school population, then your allotment is going to be much higher because it is based on that school population, the number of students that you have registered. Whatever your balance is, so let's say you received $500 that particular, so for 2025, if you still had some money left over from 2024's balance, negative or positive, it carries over. So if for whatever reason you just were not able to spend out your allotment last year and use that money to spend it completely out. So you were left with a zero balance. It doesn't disappear. So you don't have to panic about, oh my goodness, it's getting really close to the end of the calendar year. I need to spend this money or it's going to be gone. The beautiful thing is that it just carries over. That includes in the negative. So we certainly don't encourage you to go into the negative. However, it happens, and it's okay if it's just a tiny amount. Like let's say it's $25 to $50, unless of course you only get $75 a year. Then that might be not the most ideal situation. So it can be in a little bit in the negative because sometimes it's hard to spend it to the exact penny so that you actually have a zero balance. Now, additional allotment is can be a really useful option. So all it is we treat it like allotment. So if it was a case where you had a fundraiser or something along those lines, or additional money that had been set aside for this from the school's budget that was going to go towards purchasing library materials, you could send us basically a check for a certain amount. So let's say it was for $500, you would send us payment for that. And we basically put it into an account and we treat it like allotment. So if you were to make a purchase, so you'd gone onto CCD, filled a cart, and you had this account set up, then you would select additional allotment because you knew that you had money in that fund. And you wanted to use it for that particular purchase, you would select additional allotment. So basically, any of these options are options that you would use when purchasing these materials. And in CCD, any of the active funds that you have in place will show up when you log in as to which one you want to use for purchasing that particular cart. Lastly is bill direct. And bill direct is just a term that we use for you're not using either of those allotment funds. So you're not pulling from an existing balance. You're going to be invoiced for those items that you are purchasing with bill direct. So, you could, let's say you used up all of your allotment, but you still had another 5 or 6 books or 150 books. It really can range pretty wildly that you knew you had additional funds for outside of your allotment. And basically, we would still order those items, process them. Everything would be the same except when you actually receive those items as they're pulled from our vendors' warehouses, we've processed them and shipped them. You will receive an invoice with those items and you would have to make payment after the fact. So,
Sorry, Lori.
lastly, oh, yeah,
Oh, sorry, before you go to the next section, we have a question about the allotment. Does it
sure.
include junior kindergarten and kindergarten students for the allotment budget?
Um, I'm not sure if I understand.
Just the allotment. Can they use it for the kindergarten and junior kindergarten students? Like,
You can use it for it doesn't matter what grade within your school. So I'm just gonna use an example. Barhead Elementary.
I think the number, like, is the number of the students who are being calculated for the budget. The junior kindergartens and kindergartens are accounted for too.
I don't know if it doesn't really matter if you have a library in your school and you're the one that's designated to make the purchases and order the materials for your library. Um, you just have this allotment, this amount, like this pool of money to pull from for the materials for a library. So they've already worked out as to the government, as to you have this many students that are registered. So that's how they're going to determine how much you're going to receive. So beyond that, it should include all of the students, if I'm saying that in in a way that makes sense. If you do have the levels that you had just mentioned, in your school, then yes, it should be for all the students that are registered within your school. I hope
Yeah,
that answers the question.
yeah, Rochelle is explaining that yes, that's what I meant. Our junior
Okay.
kinders specifically has separate funding, so I was not sure if they would count as the students for the budget or not.
Um,
I think this is something that we should look into after and see.
Yeah, it's that's not really gonna how can I put this? There's certainly going to be, funding that is completely separate from us and this allotment, funding structure that, your school divisions have allotted or your school specifically, because I'm not 100% sure how that, the budgeting and the approval for that budgeting and et cetera goes. So certainly if you have additional money, let's say that's for, because I didn't even know there was such a thing as a junior kindergartner, if I'm honest. I just thought they were all kindergartners. But for the money that we are given that we basically hold on your behalf, that that should include all of the kids that are registered at your school. So, and again, it's not going to them individually or to any specific classroom. It's for materials that are going to end up in the library collection. That's for everybody in the school. I think I covered that. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Certainly, if you need more clarification, don't hesitate to let us know. And even if it's after this presentation, we are happy to try and clarify anything if my answer was not super helpful. So, the last thing I wanted to talk about on how to buy is allotment reimbursement forms. So what that is that if you saw something on Amazon, or you were at Walmart and you saw something that was on sale and you wanted to buy it, or from wherever. If you are purchasing materials for your library collection that are outside of YRL, then you still have money in your allotment fund, you can get reimbursed for those items, for the cost of those items. So it's a matter of going to, and we're going to look at this as well closer to the end of the presentation, which is a website that we created precisely for our school member libraries, and it's called the School Library Resource Repository. And there's a form there that you can download and fill out and submit to our accountant with the receipts for those items to get reimbursed. So, and I'll show you where that is on the website when we get there. So I'm just going to move on to another option for ordering. And where standing orders are of huge benefit, especially for the schools that there's a person that is given the responsibility of the library, but you have such little, just very little time to dedicate to the library. And, it can really seem daunting sometimes as to, I don't know what to buy. I don't have time to figure out what to buy. Standing orders are kind of the perfect solution. So how it works is very close to the beginning of the calendar year. We send out basically a listing, and they're primarily made up of series for kids to teens. And what all you do is you basically check off any of the series that you were interested in. So some of the most popular ones, of course, I'm sure you're familiar with, Geronimo Stilton. It's always a great example. So you know that your students love Geronimo Stilton, but it's just it's tough to try and keep up with when is the next volume going to come out. And there's not just one Geronimo Stilton, there's multiple. There's many Geronimo Stiltons. There's the chapter books. There's the graphic novels. There's also the spin-offs like Thea Stilton, etc. So how do you know when it's going to come out, what it's called, when to get it, etc.? The beauty of this is you can just check off Geronimo Stilton chapter book, and when the next volume comes out, our vendor pulls it from the shelf, from their warehouse. They ship them to us, as well as all of the other libraries that have also chosen that particular series. Those items are taken out of the fund that you choose to use for this. So let's say there's 3 series that you want to subscribe to, because this is basically like a subscription service. And essentially, you could say, I want this coming out of my allotment. And you know that, okay, because it's going to have the prices on this list, that they're like $7.99 each. And then they might be further discounted. So you can kind of get an idea of, oh, if there's 4 volumes of these a year, they're at this price. So if I only want this one series, it's going to cost me, like $40 or $50 for the year. Then you know that you kind of have to put that aside also in your head, that that amount of money from your allotment needs to kind of, um, go to these standing orders, because as these additions or volumes come in, that money will be taken from your allotment if that's what you chose, or your additional allotment, or you could just be invoiced for them. That's also the other option. So you don't have to worry about what's coming out when. It all just comes to you. And this applies to a bunch of different groups of books that you can choose as a standing order. So there's different picture book options to choose from. There's all kinds of different graphic novel series, easy and level readers. So like the I Can Read, level 1, 2, 3, 4, etc., as well as others. And there's also different fiction, not only for kids, but also for tweens and teens. So you basically choose what you want. As soon as it is available from our vendor, they send it to us, we process it, and then we send it to you with the MARC records. So it's shelf ready. All you have to do is just check it in. And the other really amazing thing about this program is that you can start it technically at any time. You can also opt out of it at any time. So if, let's say, we're halfway through the year and you're approaching June, and a million different things can happen, but for whatever reason you decide, you know what, I would rather allocate what I have left in my allotment to something else, because there's a demand for these books that the kids want or teachers want, then you just contact us and say, I want to discontinue my standing orders. And if that's the case, we do it automatically. Sometimes if we haven't gotten to United Library Services in time, you might still get the books that you had subscribed to the following month, because we just weren't able to cancel them in time. But beyond that, then it comes to an end. So the commitment is not a forever commitment by any stretch. You can really opt in or out whenever it's convenient. So. And next, we're going to talk about a little bit about that processing stage. So when items come into us that have been purchased through us, as well as items that you have purchased outside of YRL and you have sent into us for something that we call process only. So you've purchased them elsewhere, but we're going to process them for you. So we're going to catalog the item to create the MARC record that goes into your ILS. And we're also going to print a spine label. We're going to fix the spine label. If it has a book jacket on a loose book jacket, if it comes in as new, there will be a Mylar cover already on it, and we will fix that covered book jacket to the book, so it remains secure. And it will also have a track barcode on it, which you do not have to use in your school, of course. We usually use that more for shipping purposes. So some of our schools use our track barcodes. Most use your own barcodes, but that is applied as well. So as soon as you get that material, it is shelf ready. All you have to do is just check it in. And again, the MARC records are sent to either you or your school division to import into your ILS so you can access those items in your digital catalog. So that's the processing part of the whole continuum from start to finish. And again, I was just talking about process only. So those again are those materials that you've purchased outside of YRL. All you have to do is just email us and say, I have a box of books that I need processed, and we will set up a date to pick them up. We usually will have them for anywhere, I think it's 30 to 60 days is kind of the window that we like to stay within. If for whatever reason you needed them faster, then please let us know. We will do our best to get them back to you a little bit quicker. But basically we catalog the items. We process them again with that spine label, etc. And then we arrange a delivery date to return them to you. If it's just a small batch of items, we will often just pop them in the mail and send them back to you that way. And then we will send the MARC records to you or your school division by email. If it's a larger quantity of items, we will schedule a van run, and we will actually have one of our drivers drop them off to you, and we'll give you a heads up as to when that will be. So it's a great service. It saves a tremendous amount of time. Not everybody has either the time or expertise to do the processing and the cataloging anymore. So if you're receiving things like donations from the community or parents or whatever that, and they're items that you think are of value to add to the collection, but again, you don't have the time to process them, or you're purchasing items outside of YRL, which again is perfectly fine. But again, you don't want to spend the time trying to catalog and process them yourself. Just contact us at that askyrl@yrl.ab.ca email address, and we will set up that pickup and get those items processed for you. So moving on, in regards, there's going to be a little bit of a deep dive to process only and new items. So it's going to pertain to anything that we are processing, new or things you've sent to us. And what we use, or what we refer to as an item record, is where we're inputting that detailed information as to what's on your spine label, what part of the collection it's going to be in. So whether it's part of your juvenile nonfiction or it's a leveled reader, etc. So we share a different ILS than you do. But basically we add them into our catalog. And with that, so you can see the bibliographic record is the Green Eggs and Ham. And so for that book, there's going to be an item record for each library that has a copy of that title. And that item record is where the barcode information is going to be stored. And again, where the collection, shelf location, spine label information, et cetera, where all of that information is going to be. And what's more critically important is the item record template. And what that is it's an item record that we keep in our system, but what it has is all of the specific detailed information that you have that pertains to your spine labels for your school library. Now, you're all autonomous. You make your own choices as to what you want on your spine labels. So some schools or even public libraries for juvenile fiction might like a J on their spine label above the cutter. So the first three letters of the author's last name. Some might like JUV above the cutter. Some don't want anything above the cutter. And that can also pertain to graphic novels. They might want GN above the cutter. Nonfiction, they might want NF, or again, nothing, just the Dewey Decimal Number and the cutter. So because we have a combination of public and school libraries that we serve as our members, we have over 80 in total. So it's impossible to remember the specific spine label information for all of the different parts of any collection for all of our libraries. So we have those templates in our system to refer to so that we know specifically what goes onto your spine label for all of those parts of your collection. So again, if it was some picture books that you'd ordered through us or had sent into us for processing, we will make sure that we're checking those templates so that we're putting on your specific spine label information onto those spine labels. So we need to make sure that those templates are up to date. If for whatever reason you are unsure, what is in those templates, you can always take a browse around your library and see what has been traditionally used, especially if you're new, in the past for any spine labels. So again, with picture books, it might be E and the cutter, or it might just be the cutter, or it might just be E. There's a variety of different ways of doing this, and there's no right or wrong. Everybody has their own method of how they like organizing this material in their library. So if you're ever curious, or you want to update any of this information, again, just contact us at that askyrl@yrl.ab.ca email address, and we will take the following steps to get that detailed information to you so you can kind of reassess or just familiarize yourself with it. And then we can take any steps beyond that if you wanted to update or change any of that information. So it's a little bit of a rabbit hole. I hope that all made sense. But it's really, really important because we want to make sure that we're being accurate with the information that you prefer to have on your spine labels. So the next step, of course, in this whole process is getting the stuff to you. So any of the new items that are purchased through us, we set up van runs. Again, if it's a larger batch of materials, if it's just a couple of items, we will again often throw them in the mail. And they will make their way to you, but we'll send the MARC records to you via email. So you'll get an email from me, very likely, that says, end of last week, we mailed out 3 books and I've attached the MARC records, or I've sent them to your school division to import into your ILS. If it's a larger batch, we will contact you to let you know when we're going to be delivering those materials, because with our public libraries, we do weekly van runs. With our school libraries, we do monthly van runs. If you're a school-housed library, you get the benefit of getting a weekly van run because you're sharing a space with your public library. So you get the benefit of getting a weekly van run. So with those that are not school-housed, it's a little bit more spread out, but we try to get it to you as quickly as possible. If there was ever, again, any reason that you needed us to pick up process-only material, that's the email on the screen that you would want to use to contact us at any time. And that's pertaining to anything, any questions that you might have about your school library at any time, and we'll get back to you. Okay, so we're at the end, and I'm wondering if anybody has any questions. Has it been pretty quiet, Zara?
I don't see any questions.
No?
So feel free, if you have any question, you can pop it in the chat.
Okay.
Although we have an explanation from Josie, so she put the answer for the questions that Rochelle asked in the Q&A.
Oh,
To
okay,
make sure
good.
that everybody notices, I put it in the chat, and
Okay.
you can read it. So the answer was yes, kinders are getting allotments. So, and
Okay.
she was very nice and kind to just spend time to type all the details. She says
Yeah.
kinder is billed and given allotment at 0.5 FTE. So if there are 10
Okay.
kinder kids, we charge the division for 5 and give allotment for 5 in the total. In terms of
Gotcha.
preschool, if they give those numbers to us from Alberta Ed, then it is the same. For instance, this happens at
At
Lynn
Lynn
Lauren
Lauren,
Earlier
yeah.
Ed in Wetaskiwin Division. You say it.
Gotcha.
It's just
Okay.
Josie's answer.
All
Yeah,
right.
it was
Thank
good for
you,
us to know
Josie.
too. Yeah, thank you.
That's amazing. Yes. Yeah, that's wonderful. Yeah, I'm glad that we were able to kind of clarify more specifically about that, because I honestly, I wasn't sure. I felt pretty confident that it would include all of the littles, but you never know. Well, it still seems pretty quiet. So I either explained everything super thoroughly, or you just haven't thought of a question yet that that needs an answer, or you're new to the school library and you're just not sure what questions to ask yet, which is totally fair. So there has been some turnover and some new faces, which we're excited to reach out to you all individually, likely with a phone call at some point in the upcoming weeks. And 200 more questions. I love that. That's great. Certainly there are a few places that you can go to get more detailed information. Now, where you can get slightly more general information is a binder that we sent out a couple of years ago. We actually sent out a brand new version of it, a revised version last year, and it's helpful information for school libraries. So if you already know where that is, feel free to dive into it periodically if you have any questions. If you don't know where it is, or you just can't find it and you're pretty sure that it's MIA, just let us know. We have some spares here. I can always ship out another copy for you. And the other thing I wanted to show you, which I almost forgot about, which forgive me, is the school resource repository website. So this is a Google site. And because you're all incredibly knowledgeable in the world of Google. We created it on this platform for that purpose. So it's very simple and straightforward, but in great detail. It touches upon all the different areas that you will have some interaction with at some point or other in regards to the library. So anything to do with collections and ordering, anything to do with, we have a whole bunch of kits, programming kits available. And if you ever wanted to borrow any of these kits, you can check out to see what is available in our list. It actually has pictures, a breakdown of the contents, and even different ways that you can use these kits. And basically, you just email us and say, there's one of the story time kits, so the fall story time kit that I would like to borrow, and I would like it for, October or November. We will do our best to check our kit booking app to see if it is available at the time that you were hoping for, and we get it booked for you. We deliver it the same way that we deliver any of our books that you've purchased through us or process only materials. And you would have it for anywhere from 2 to 4 weeks, depending on the availability, and then we come pick it up. So that's a pretty sweet service. I definitely recommend taking advantage of. There's information specific to curriculum support, which is another service we offer. And that is for not just curriculum-based materials, it's also for pleasure reading. So if you had, a teacher that said, I'm doing a unit on this, in like a month, we only have one book in our library for the kids to use. Can you try and get some others on, pulleys and levers or something like that? You would just email us with that Ask YRL email address and let us know, can you get us like a half dozen books on pulleys and levers? I go into TrackPack, I place holds on the books, whatever I can find. They come to us, we ship them to you, and you get them for an extended period of time. As soon as you're done with them, you can either send them back to us, request a pickup, or take them to your public library and drop them in the book return. So this area will give you all the details about that service. Any training and workshops, like this one, for example, that we have coming up that you are welcome to join. We also have e-resources that are available for anybody with a track library membership at their public library. So some schools, your staff and your students might already have track membership set up at their public library. Others might not. In order to access any of these e-resources, you have to have that track library membership at your public library. So it gives you all of the information that you require and what e-resources we offer through YRL in this little batch of information here, and then some specific information about that binder that I had mentioned, as well as an actual copy of the binder. So you can look at that binder digitally. So one thing I just want to point out on the site is, again, if you were going to check out the kits, which are, fun to browse through, is it has a little image of what the kit looks like. And then you can click on the information that will give you a breakdown of what's in it, what you can do with it. It might even have a resource list on instructions and how-tos, etc. Some additional titles that we might recommend to read or to borrow in advance of getting a particular kit, so that you can be prepared with it for either a scheduled program that you have with your kids or a story time, or maybe it's just passive programming where you're borrowing a kit and you're just setting it up in the back of the room in the classroom or a maker space or something like that, where the kids can just interact with it when they have time and at their leisure. And then when you're done with it, you just box it back up, let us know, and we come pick it up. So there's all kinds of different information in each of these tabs on each of these areas of service that we provide to our school libraries. So this is a much, much more detailed resource of all of these services and supports that we offer. I highly recommend bookmarking this so that it's always easily accessible to you and you can check it at any time. But again, don't feel like you can't reach out to us and ask questions as well. So it's just another quick resource where you can jump into it anytime if you're kind of like, oh, I knew that they offered some kind of a service where I can get books for our kids that we don't have in our collection. So it'll give you that information at the click of a button. Okay, so this is CCD that I was talking about. So mine looks a little bit different because I'm going to see everybody's funds. But if I was one of our schools, for example, it's going to show me what the balance is in whatever fund I might have selected. So if I chose allotment, it's going to show me what the balance is at the bottom of the screen, as you can see here. There is the grouping section. So if you were really only interested in looking at winner and nominee lists, click on that in the groupings, and it will take you to those that have been designated as winner and nominee lists. If you wanted just Canadian material, it will take you to that. If you just wanted all groupings and you wanted to just generally browse, this is where you can do that. Is just click all groupings. There's always going to be quite a few available. Some are available monthly, some are available every second month. Others are only 3 to 4 times a year. And then the themed lists are just kind of random. We add them as we have time, and they're usually available for anywhere from 1 to 2 months at a time. So if just a really quick breakdown, you can see there's a little bit of a description, what the title or theme of this list is, the category, if there's any discount, and to be clear, all of these items are going to have discounts. Some of them will have one that's chosen for for every item in this list, because we know that with super forthcoming, with this particular promotion from our vendor, every title in this list is going to be 35% off list price. So that's why it's been chosen. You will see in other lists, I'm just going to scroll down. I'm sorry, it can be dizzying. There is no discount displayed, but that does not mean that there is no discount on the titles in this list. All it means is that they varied. So they might be anywhere from 20% to 40%. Those discounts are applied at the point of invoicing. So when the book arrives, the vendor, ULS, let's say, has pulled it from their shelf and they're shipping it to us and it's been added to an invoice, the discount is applied at that time. So important to note. And I'm just going to scroll back up here. How many items are in the list? When the list expires, really important. If it's something that has a really high discount promotion attached to it, and you're super, super busy and you're thinking, oh, I only have 2 weeks to make some selections from that list before it expires. It's good to know when it does, because you don't want to go back and then go, oh, it's gone. And then to actually view the list, you can either click view or actually click on the list itself. This is where all of the details are about each of those items. So with this one, for example, you can see that it was regularly $22.99. It's 35% off, so it's $14.94. And to add it to your cart, it's as simple as that.
Laura,
Once you are, yeah,
I'm sorry, I interrupted.
no, that's
I have
okay.
a question. So where do I see my current balance? Am I able to sign in myself to a website for that information, or do you send my balance to me as it fluctuates?
Well, both, I guess, in a way you could say. On CCD, you should be able to see your balance at the bottom left-hand corner of the screen. So if you have a CCD login, when you log in, you can choose whichever fund you have currently set up, and it will tell you what that balance is in the bottom left. If it was the beginning of the calendar year and we have set up your allotments for 2025, for example, we actually send out that information to you annually at the beginning of the year once we know what that allotment balance is. And so we actually send you something via email to let you know what that balance is. You can also contact us at any time. If for whatever reason you're unsure or you don't have access to CCD, you can just email us and we'll let you know what the balance is. So. From here, it's simply a case of just continuing to click the prompts. If you were done, you can view my order, submit the order. I think it gives you 2 more opportunities to submit the order, and again, it comes to us. You will get an email confirmation of that order, so you have it for your records. And as the materials come in from our vendors, whoever they were ordered from, those items will be shipped to us, they're processed and then shipped to you. So they're not all going to come in all at once. They're going to come in as they're available. So some titles might come in really, really quickly. Others might take a little bit of time because they are not currently on the warehouse shelf at our vendors' storage facility. So they might have to contact a distributor or publisher to get a copy of it. So it might take a little bit longer. But if you're ever concerned, you can always email us and get a status update. We'll do our best to give you that information. So that's CCD. And then lastly, I just want to touch upon at least United Library Services, because I know we're getting pretty close to the end of our hour. But this is our primary vendor site that, by all means, use this to your convenience. If you're not going to find everything that exists on CCD either, it's important to note. So if there was, let's say, I don't know, a copy of of maybe an older title that was still circulating a lot, but was in terrible condition, and you just wanted to replace it. And for whatever reason, even though United Library Services database of books that they offer for sale is extremely comprehensive, maybe it's just a title that they don't have available for whatever reason. You can I forgot where I was going with that. That's terrible. But basically it's something that you can go directly onto, I know where I was going with it. You can go directly onto the ULS site and search for items in ULS or CVS Midwest Tape. Again, if it's a DVD or a Blu-ray or a music CD or something along those lines, audiovisual material. But CCD is not going to, it's only going to have items that are in current selection lists. So if that particular title is not in one of the selection lists that you see displayed, you're not going to be able to find it there. So you would have to either go onto ULS and try and find it in ULS, or again, you could email us just directly and say, there's this title that's not on CCD, but I would like to order a copy, and then we can source it for you. So, but definitely worth browsing. It's a really easy to use website, United Library Services. If you don't have a login set up already, it's super easy. You literally just click register here up in the top right. It takes about 5 minutes, and you should be good to go and access it. So I'm going to stop there. I could go on for hours. Do we have any more questions?
No, we are good. Any other
All
questions?
right.
Seems
Oh,
that we
so
are good.
quiet. Excellent. All right. So again, if you ever have any questions about anything, just email us, askyRL@yrl.ab.ca. We're happy to answer your questions and provide any support and services that we can, and we can take the next steps after we have a chat. So reach out anytime. Thanks for coming, and we hope you have a really great day.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good day.